Let's do a little bit of kirtan before we start our class. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prishnaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Namini Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyadeshatarini Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatyadeshatarini Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Gadada Shivasadi Gaura Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Gadada Shivasadi Gaura Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदनन्दन ब्रजनरञ्जन यशोदनन्दन ब्रजनरञ्जन यशोदनन्दन ब्रजनरञ्जन यशोदनन्दन ब्रजनरञ्जन यमुनतीरावनचारि 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 जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी गोपी जन वल्लभा गिरिवरधारी यशोदनन्दन ब्रजनरञ्जन यशोदनन्दन ब्रजनरञ्जन यमुनतीरावनचारि यमुनतीरावनचारि जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे जय प्रभुपदा 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 Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. So we will recite and the prayers before starting our Bhagavad Gita. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sakagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaidam Savadutam Parijana Sagitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagagana Lalita Shri Vishakanvitam Cha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So welcome to our weekly systematic study of Bhagavad Gita. So we are reading, currently reading the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita entitled as Arjuna Vishada Yoga, or observing the armies at the battlefield. Who is observing? Krishna is observing. So last few weeks we saw various sections of this first chapter. The first chapter contains two sections. Section 1 is introduction. In that introduction, again, there are three subsections are there, right? So we saw that, right? The three subsections are there. The first subsection is preparation for war, and then second subsection is signs of victory for the Pandavas, and then third subsection is Krishna as Bhakta Vatsala. In the second section, right, verses 1.22, 28 to 46, the Arjuna gives, four reasons. Actually, Arjuna gives totally 5 reasons not to fight. The first four reasons are coming from the first chapter. So and then the last reason, the fifth reason, he gives in the beginning of the second chapter. So this 1.28 to 46, that's the section we are in now. The first reason Arjuna gives is compassion. That is 1.28 to 1.30. So that also we covered last week. And then we saw that there are two types of compassion. One is the spiritual compassion. Another is the material compassion. Spiritual compassion is based on the soul. Material compassion is based on the body. So when we show compassion to the soul at the platform of the soul, it automatically includes the compassion for the body. Whereas when we do just compassion for the body, it doesn't mean that we are giving compassion to the soul. Hmm. So we saw that Arjuna, right? So when he saw Bhishma and Drona, hmm, right, especially Bhishma and Drona, and especially all the relatives in the opposition side, he started feeling compassion in the heart. Hmm. So Arjuna's argument is one should show compassion to everyone in this world. What to speak of my elders, my relatives, my friends, my cousins, you know, my uncles, all of them, you know. So, but his compassion is actually based on, the body. So, so that's why, because of the compassion, his body starts burning, and he starts shivering. In fact, actually, he is crying also. Hmm. We'll see that later. It comes. So the second reason he gives is 1.31 to 35. That is enjoyment. If I win this kingdom, right, which will be tainted with blood, I will not be able to enjoy this kingdom. Loss of enjoyment. That is the second reason. The third reason is fear of sinful reaction. That is 36 to 38. And then destruction of family tradition. So that is the fourth reason he gives. Now let's read, 1.36, the verse. And up to 1.31. Up to 1.30 we covered last week. Hmm. So Arjuna is telling in 1.30, I am now unable to stand here any longer. I am forgetting myself and my mind is failing. I see only cause of misfortune. O Krishna, killer of K.C. demon. So now we are reading 1.31. नाच श्रेयो नुपश्यामि हत्वशजनं नाकांक्षे Some echo is coming. So I'm not sure why. This can you yourself on. Okay. Okay. न च श्रेयो नुपश्यामि हत्वा सजनम् आघवे न कांक्षे विजयं कृष्ण न च राज्यं सुखानि च. Translation. I do not see how any good can come from killing my own kinsman in this battle, nor can I, my dear Krishna, desire any subsequent victory, kingdom or happiness. Purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Without knowing that one's self-interest is in Vishnu or Krishna, conditioned souls are attracted by bodily relationships, hoping to be happy in such situations. In such a blind conception of life, they forget even the causes of material happiness. Arjuna appears to have even forgotten the moral codes for a Kshatriya. It is said that two kinds of men, namely the Kshatriya who dies directly in front of the battlefield under Krishna's personal orders, and the person in the renounced order of life, who is absolutely devoted to spiritual culture are eligible to enter into the sun globe, which is so powerful and dazzling. Arjuna is reluctant even to kill his enemies, let alone his relatives. He thinks that by killing his kinsmen, there would be no happiness in his life, and therefore he is not willing to fight. Just as a person who does not feel is not inclined to cook. He has now decided to go into forest and live a secluded life in frustration. But as a Kshatriya, he requires a kingdom for his subsistence because the Kshatriyas cannot engage themselves in any other occupation. But Arjuna has no kingdom. Arjuna's sole opportunity for gaining a kingdom lies in fighting with his cousins and brothers and reclaiming the kingdom inherited from his father, which he does not like to do. Therefore, he considers himself fit to go to the forest to live a secluded life of frustration. So here, Prabhupada is nicely explaining. So once the soul's real self-interest is Krishna, Vishnu, right? So we do not know that because we are conditioned in this world. What is the conditioning? We misidentify ourselves with the body, right? The real constitutional position of the soul is that we are part and parcel of the Lord. The purpose of the part is to serve the whole, right? That is our constitutional position. Because we misidentify ourselves with this body, right? So then we do not understand that our real self-interest is by serving Krishna, Vishnu, right? Instead of that, we are attracted by bodily relationships, hoping to be happy in such situation. When we identify ourselves with the body, and when we identify with body relationships, ultimately what happens? Ultimately, it will result in frustration only. Because body is bound to be destroyed. Whatever, comes into being in this world, the material body, eventually it has to be destroyed. If we identify ourselves with the body, and then based on this body relationship with others, eventually these relationships are temporary because it's based on body, because body itself is temporary. So hence, that will ultimately lead to frustration only. So in such a blind conception of life, they forget even the cause of material happiness, right? So they are not actually, when we are identified with the body, we do not even know why materially we will become happy. Materially one becomes happy when one is situated in mode of goodness. So that itself they do not know, right? Arjuna appears to have even forgotten the moral codes for a Kshatriya. The moral code for a Kshatriya is to fight in the war. Either to win in the war, if he wins the war, he'll be successful, right? Because he has a kingdom to enjoy. If he dies in the war, right, he will be elevated to higher planets. As Prabhupada says, they'll be elevated to sun planet, sun globe. So for Kshatriya, it's a win-win situation, right? When he kills the enemy and gains the kingdom, he can enjoy in this world. When he gets killed by the enemy in the war, right, then he gets promoted to the higher planets. Either way, it's a win-win situation for the Kshatriyas. That Arjuna seems to have forgotten, right? And then Prabhupada says the Kshatriyas cannot engage themselves in any other occupation other than administrating a kingdom. Here, Arjuna's sole opportunity for gaining the kingdom is to fight against the Kauravas. his cousins and brothers. To reclaim the kingdom he inherited from his father. Because he bodily identifies with his body, he sees everybody as his relatives, he does not want to do what is a duty of a Kshatriya. Hmm. Therefore, he considers himself fit to go to the forest to live a secluded life of frustration. Hmm. He thinks that because I cannot fight this war because all my relatives are involved, it's better to go to the forest and live a life of seclusion, secluded life of frustration. We will see, later Arjuna Krishna will explain, Arjuna, your your reason for leaving the leaving the war and going into the forest is based on attachment only, not out of detachment. When you wanted to go into the forest as a mendicant, you cannot sustain yourself. You got to beg for living. When you are begging for living, eventually somebody might insult you. At that time, your true, real nature as Kshatriya will come in. And at that time, you will convert your Kamandala into Gandiba and kill that person. Because you are a Kshatriya, by nature you are a Kshatriya, you will not be able to tolerate insult. So when you are in the profession of begging, eventually somebody is going to insult you. So hence, Krishna will talk about this later. We will see that later. So here, Kshatriya's duty is to, administer the kingdom. In this case, Arjuna doesn't have one. He has to gain the kingdom to administer. 1.32 to 35. Further, Arjuna gives more reasons here, right? Why by winning this war he will not be happy. He will not be able to enjoy the kingdom. Kim no rajyena govinda kim bhoge jivitena va yesham arte kankshitam no rajyam bhoga shukani cha ताइमे वशिष्ठा युद्धे प्रणाम त्यक्त्वा धनानि च आचार्य पितृपुत्रास् पितृः पुत्रास् तथैव च पितामहाग मातुला श्वशुरा पौत्रः श्याला सम्बन्धिनस्तथा एतान् हन्तुमिच्छामि ज्ञातोऽपि मधुसूदन अपि त्रैलोक्य राजस्य हेतु किं नु महीकृते निहत्या धरतराष्ट्रन्नः का प्रीति स्यात् जनार्दन. O Govinda, of what avail to us are a kingdom, happiness, or even life itself, when all those for whom we may desire them are now arrayed on this battlefield. O Madhusudana, when teachers, fathers, sons, grandfathers, maternal uncles, father-in-laws, grandsons, brother-in-laws, and other relatives are ready to give up their lives and properties and are standing before me, why should I wish to kill them, even though they might otherwise kill me? O maintainer of all living entities, I am not prepared to fight with them even in exchange for the three worlds, let alone this earth. What pleasure will we derive from killing the sons of Dhritarashtra? Purport. Arjuna has addressed Krishna, Lord Krishna, as Govinda because Krishna is the object of all pleasures for cows and senses. By using this significant word, Arjuna indicates that Krishna should understand what will satisfy Arjuna's senses. But Govinda is not meant for satisfying our senses. If we try to satisfy the senses of Govinda, however, then automatically our own senses are satisfied. Materially, even everyone wants to satisfy his senses, and he wants God, to be the order supplier for such satisfaction. The Lord will satisfy the senses of the living entities as much as they deserve, but not to the extent they may covet. But when one takes the opposite way, namely, one tries to satisfy the senses of Govinda without desiring to satisfy one's own senses, then by the grace of Govinda, all desires of the living entities are satisfied. Arjuna's deep affection for community and family members is exhibited here, partly due to his natural compassion for them. He is therefore not prepared to fight. Everyone wants to show his opulence to friends and relatives, but Arjuna fears that all his relatives and friends will be killed on the battlefield, and he'll be unable to share his opulence after victory. This is a typical calculation of a material life. The transcendental life, however, is different. Since a devotee wants to satisfy the desires of the Lord, he can, Lord willing, accept all kinds of opulence for the service of the Lord. And if the Lord is not willing, he should not accept a far thing. Arjuna did not want to kill his relatives, and if there were any need to kill them, he desired that Krishna kill them personally. At this point, he did not know that Krishna had already killed them before coming into the battlefield, and that he was only to become an instrument for Krishna. This fact is disclosed in following chapters. As a natural devotee of the Lord, Arjuna did not like to retaliate against his miscreant cousins and brothers, but it was the Lord's plan that they should all be killed. The devotee of the Lord does not retaliate against the wrongdoer, but the Lord does not tolerate any mischief done to the devotee by the miscreants. The Lord can excuse a person on his own account, but he excuses no one who has done harm to his devotees. Therefore, the Lord can excuse a person. Therefore, the Lord was determined to kill the miscreants, although Arjuna wanted to excuse them. Here, it's a very important principle. It's mentioned here. If somebody, insults or causes, harm to Krishna, Krishna tolerates that. Like a father, he tolerates all the living entities' mistakes. But Krishna will not tolerate if a person commits offense or he hurts, a devotee. He cannot tolerate that. He can tolerate, for himself, but he cannot tolerate when somebody, does mischief to the devotee. It's like this, when somebody can tolerate, somebody doing wrong to them, but if somebody does something to the children, they can't tolerate like that. Because Krishna, right, cannot tolerate, the offense is committed to a devotee. So that one should be thoughtful of. Next verse. This is the next section, fear of sinful reaction. 1.36 to 38. Papam eva shrayet ashman hatvaitan ata yayinaha tashman arha vayam hantum dhartarashtrasha bandhavan swajanam hi katam hatva sukino shyama madhava. Sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. Therefore, it is not proper for us to kill the sons of Dhritarashtra and our friends. What should we gain, O Krishna, husband of the goddess of fortune? And how should we be happy by killing our own kinsman? Purport. According to Vedic injunctions, there are 6 kinds of aggressors: a poison giver, one who sets fire to the house, one who attacks with deadly weapons, one who plunders riches, one who occupies another's land, and one who kidnaps a wife. Such aggressors are at once to be killed, and no sin is incurred by killing such aggressors. Such killing of aggressors is quite befitting any ordinary man. But Arjuna was not an ordinary person. He was saintly by character, and therefore he wanted to deal with them in saintliness. This kind of saintliness, however, is not for a Kshatriya. Although a responsible man and administration of a state is required to be saintly, he should not be cowardly. For example, Lord Rama was so saintly that people even now are anxious to live in the kingdom of Lord Rama, Rama Rajya. But Lord Rama never showed any cowardice. Ravana was an aggressor against Rama because Ravana kidnapped Rama's wife Sita. But Lord Rama gave him sufficient lessons, unparalleled in the history of the world. In Arjuna's case, however, one should consider the special type of aggressors, namely his own grandfather, own teacher, friends, sons, grandsons, etc. Because of them, Arjuna thought that he should not take the severe steps necessary against ordinary aggressors. Besides that, saintly persons are advised to forgive. Such injunctions for saintly persons are more important than any political emergency. Arjuna considered that rather than kill his own kinsmen for political reasons, it would be better to forgive them on the grounds of religion and saintly behavior. He did not therefore consider such killing profitable simply for the matter of temporary bodily happiness. After all, kingdoms and pleasure derived therefrom are not permanent. So why should he risk his life and eternal salvation by killing his own kinsman? Arjuna's addressing of Krishna as Madhava, or the husband of goddess of fortune, is also significant in this connection. He wanted to point out to Krishna that as the husband of goddess of fortune, he should not induce Arjuna to take up a matter which would ultimately bring about misfortune. Krishna, however, never brings misfortune to anyone, to say nothing of his devotees. Uh, Here, there are six types of aggressors Prabhupada talks in the purport. In a poison giver, one who sets fire to the house, one who attacks with deadly weapons, one who plunders riches, one who occupies another land, one who kidnaps a wife. So in this case, the Kauravas committed not just one of this aggression. If even if a person commits one of that aggression, that person can be killed according to Dharma. But in Pandava's case, the Kauravas not only committed one type of aggression, all the six of them they did. They gave poison to Bhima in the cake. They put poison and they tried to kill Bhima, and then they said try to set the fire to the house. They tried to put them in this uh, house which was built with wax and other things, and then they tried to set up a fire so that they can be killed. And then they attacked them with deadly weapons earlier, and then they plundered the riches, and then they took up their land, and then they insulted their wife. Right? So in this case, the Kauravas, headed by Duryodhana, committed all the six aggressions. Hence, they should be killed according to Dharma. It is not a violation of Dharma. But Arjuna, because he doesn't want to fight, because they are all relatives, he gives the reason of saintliness. Saintly people should not kill. So he gives that excuse. And then he is addressing Krishna as Madhava because he is husband of goddess of fortune. And because you are husband of goddess of fortune, you are asking me to fight this war and kill all these people. And by killing them, inauspiciousness only will come. Misfortune only will come. So why are you asking me to do it like that? Next verse 37 to 38. Yajyapiyetana pashyanti lobopakata chetasaha kulakshaya kritam dosham mitra drogena patakam kadam na nyayam ashambihi papat ashman nevartitum kulakshaya kritam dosham prapyas Janardana. O Janardana, although these men, their hearts overtaken by greed, see no fault in killing one's family or quarreling with friends, why should we, who can see the crime and destroying a family, engage in these acts of sin? You know, so this is the still part of the fear of sinful reaction only. The third section, third reason. Purport. A Kshatriya is not supposed to refuse to battle or gamble when he is so invited by some rival party. Under such an obligation, Arjuna could not refuse to fight because he had been challenged by the party of Duryodhana. In this connection, Arjuna considered that the other party might be blind to the effects of such a challenge. Arjuna, however, could see evil consequence and could not accept the challenge. Obligation is actually binding when the effect is good, but when the effect is otherwise, then no one can be bound. Considering all these pros and cons, Arjuna decided not to fight. So if we see here, Arjuna gives all valid logical reasons not to fight. So we will see, later the second chapter, Arjuna Krishna how you know refutes all Arjuna's arguments and give proper understanding. 39 verse, right? 39 to 43 is destruction of family tradition. Kulam chaye pranashyanti kula dharma sanatanaha dharme nashte kulam krishnam adharmo bhavatyata. With the destruction of the dynasty, the eternal family tradition is vanquished, and thus the rest of the family becomes involved in irreligion. Purport. In the system of Varnashrama institution, there are many principles of religious tradition to help members of the family grow properly and attain spiritual values. The elder members are responsible for such purifying processes in the family, beginning from birth to death. But on the death of the elder member, such family traditions of purification may stop, and by remaining younger family members may develop irreligious habits and thereby lose their chance for spiritual salvation. Therefore, for no purpose should the elders of the family be slain. Here, actually, Arjuna gives a very, very important reason. When we fight in this war, right, all the elders are going to be killed. When the elders are killed, there will be no one to direct other members of the family for the purification by performing all the various rituals and rites. So when they are not involved in religious activities, they will involve in irreligious activities. And because of that, the whole social structure will collapse. That's the reason Arjuna is giving here. 1.40. Adharmapi bhavat Krishna padushyanti kula shritrayaha trishu dushtashu varneya jayate varna shankaraha. Translation. When irreligion is prominent in the family, O Krishna, the women of the family become polluted, and from the degradation of womanhood, O descendant of Vrishni, comes unwanted progeny. So here Arjuna is giving that reason that when all the elders are killed, people will not engage properly in purificatory ceremony, and then the women will not be protected. When the women are not protected, they will be abused by miscreants in this world, and they will, because of that, they will produce unwanted progeny. Varna Shankara. Purport. Good population in human society is the basic principle for peace, prosperity, and spiritual progress in life. The Varnashrama religion's principles are so designed that the good population would prevail in society for general spiritual progress of state and community. Such population depends on the chastity and faithfulness of its womanhood. As children are very prone to be misled, women are similarly very prone to degradation. Therefore, both children and women require protection by elder members of the family. By being engaged in various religious practices, women will not be misled into adultery. According to Chanakya Pandita, women are generally not very intelligent and therefore not trustworthy. Here, the reason you have to be very careful in understanding this point, so people can misunderstand this here. When it said that, women are generally not very intelligent, that means that women are generally prone to emotions. People can manipulate emotions of a woman and then misuse them. After misusing them, they will give a child and run away. So the women, falls for the flowery words of a man without realizing that, he is going to abandon her. So that is why it is mentioned, that so they may not see the things with the proper perspective. They might be doing things in an emotional way. So the different family traditions of religious activities should always engage them, and thus their chastity and devotion will give birth to a good population eligible for participating in Varnashrama system. On the failure of such Varnashrama dharma, naturally the women become free to act and mix with men, and thus adultery is indulged in at risk of unwanted population. Irresponsible men also provoke adultery in society, and thus unwanted children flood the human race at the risk of war and pestilence. And Prabhupada is giving very profound purport here. When children are produced out of wedlock, children are produced by misuse of women, that progeny is considered to be Varna Shankara, unwanted population. When the unwanted population is produced, right, there will be no peace in the human society because they will be engaged in war and pestilence. This is very important point. So generally, people misunderstand these things, that why women are said like this. No, that's not the case. Women are very intelligent when they're spiritually situated, like women like Kunti, Draupadi, and many of them. Women are actually glorified in the Vedic tradition. But when they are not spiritually positioned, they can be easily misused by the miscreants. When they are misused by the miscreants, it will result in unwanted progeny. So that's the point Prabhupada is making here. 1.41. Shankaro narakayaiva kulagyanam kulasya cha padanti pitaro kya esam lupta pindodaka kriyaha. An increase of unwanted population certainly causes hellish life both for the family and for those who destroy the family tradition. The ancestors of such corrupt families fall down because the performance for offering them food and water are entirely stopped. Purport. According to the rules and regulation of fruitive activities, there is a need to offer periodical food and water to the forefathers of the family. This offering is performed by worship of Vishnu because eating the remnants of food offered to Vishnu can deliver one from all kinds of sinful reactions. Sometimes the forefathers may be suffering from various types of sinful reactions, and sometimes some of them cannot even acquire a gross material body and are forced to remain in subtle bodies as ghosts. Thus, when remnants of prasadam, food, are offered to forefathers by descendants, the forefathers are released from ghostly or other kinds of miserable life. Such help rendered to forefathers is a family tradition, and those who are not in devotional life are required to perform such rituals. One who is engaged in devotional life is not required to perform such actions. Simply by performing devotional service, one can deliver hundreds and thousands of forefathers from all kinds of misery. It is stated in Srimad Bhagavatam, right? Devashi Bhutapa Naram Pitranam Na Kinkaro Nayam Ranatta Rajan Sarvatmanaya Sharanam Sharanyam Gato Mukundam Parthiya Kartam. Anyone who has taken shelter of the lotus feet of Mukunda, the giver of liberation, giving up all kinds of obligation, and has taken to the path in all seriousness, owes neither duties or obligation to the demigods, sages, general living entities, family members, humankind, or forefathers. Such obligations are automatically fulfilled by performance of devotional service to the personality of Godhead. So here it's a very important point mentioned here. Every one of us has obligation to the devatas because they are the one providing all the natural resources, to the sages who give the guidance, the path of dharma, general living entities for other living entities, family members, and to the humankind and to the forefathers. So we are obligated to all these personalities and all these people, right? But when one is engaged in devotion service to Mukunda, the giver of liberation, one is freed from all kind of such obligations. You know, otherwise one is obligated to offer food and water to the elders, and then do all this various type of obligation one has to fulfill. But when one is surrendered to Krishna and engaged in devotional service to Krishna, he is no more obligated because he is freed from all those obligations. The fact that he had surrendered to the Supreme Lord. 1.42 Doshirete Kulajnanam Varna Shankara Karakahi Udyatstante Jati Dharmaha Kula Dharmascha Shashvataha. By the evil deeds of those who destroy the family tradition and thus give rise to unwanted children, all kinds of community projects and family welfare activities are devastated. Purport. Community projects for the four orders of human society combined with family welfare activities as they are set forth by the institution of Sanatana Dharma or Varnashrama Dharma are designed to enable the human being to attain ultimate salvation. Therefore, the breaking of the Sanatana Dharma tradition by irresponsible leaders of society brings about chaos in that society, and consequently people forget the aim of life, Vishnu. Such leaders are called blind, and the persons who follow such leaders are sure to be led into chaos. Utsanna Kula Dharmanam Manushyanam Janardana Narake Niyatam Vaso Bhavati iti Anushruma. O Krishna, maintainer of the people, I have heard by disciplic succession that those whose family traditions are destroyed dwell always in hell. Arjuna bases this argument not on his own personal experience but on that he has heard from authorities. That is the way of receiving real knowledge. One cannot reach the real point of factual knowledge without being helped by the right person who is already established in that knowledge. There is a system in the Varnashrama institution by which before death one has to undergo the process of atonement for his sinful activities. One who is always engaged in sinful activities must utilize the process of atonement called prayachitta. Without doing so, one surely will be transferred to hellish planets to undergo miserable lives at the result of sinful activities. अहोबत महत्पापं कर्तुं व्यवस्थिता वयं यत् राज्य सुखलोभेन हन्तुं स्वजनम् उद्यताः. Alas, how strange is that we are preparing to commit greatly sinful acts, driven by the desire to enjoy royal happiness. We are intent on killing our own kinsmen, driven by selfish motives. Driven by selfish motives, one may be inclined to such sinful acts as the killing of one's own brother, father, or mother. There are many such instances in the history of the world, but Arjuna, being a saintly devotee of the Lord, is always conscious of moral principles and therefore take care to avoid such activities. 1.45 Yadi mam apratikaram ashastram shastrapanayah Dhartarashtra rane hanyus tanme kshema taram bhavet. Better for me if the sons of Dhritarashtra, weapons in hand, were to kill me unarmed and resisting on the battlefield. Purport. It is the custom, according to Kshatriya fighting principles, that an unarmed and unwilling foe should not be attacked. Arjuna, however, desired that Even if attacked by the enemy in such an awkward position, he should not fight. He did not consider how much the other party was bent upon fighting. All the symptoms are due to soft heartedness, resulting from him being a great devotee of the Lord. 1.46 Sanjay Uvacha Evam Utka Arjuna Sankhye Ratopastha Upavisat Vishrajyana Sharam Chapam Soka Samvigna Manasaha. Sanjay said, Arjuna, having thus spoken on the battlefield, cast aside his bow and arrows and sat down on the chariot, his mind overwhelmed with grief. Purport. While observing the situation of his enemy, Arjuna stood up on the chariot, but he was so afflicted with lamentation that he sat down again, setting aside his bow and arrows. Such a kind and soft-hearted person in the devotional service of the Lord is fit to receive self-knowledge. Thus, in the Bhaktivedanta purports the first chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of observing the armies on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. So this concludes the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita. This first chapter, as I mentioned again earlier, contains two sections. First section is the introduction. Second section is Arjuna's reasons for not fighting the war. In the first section, there are three subsections. That is, preparation for war is the first subsection. Subsection 2 is signs of victory for the Pandavas, and third subsection is Krishna as Bhaktavatsala. In the second section, Arjuna gives 4 reasons for not fighting the war. First reason is compassion. And then second reason is fear of sinful reaction. And then the second reason is loss of enjoyment. And then third reason is fear of sinful reaction. And then fourth reason is destruction of family tradition. And by giving this reason, he set aside his bow and arrows, sat down, in the chariot by giving up everything. He doesn't want to fight. So this is the end of the first chapter. So here Prabhupada writes a very important point. Such a kind and soft-hearted person in the devotional service of the Lord is fit to receive self-knowledge. Because Arjuna exhibited this compassion for others, then Krishna saw his condition, that he is so compassionate to others, he is fit to receive the self-knowledge. So next chapter, in the beginning, when Arjuna surrenders to Krishna, then Krishna will impart Atma Jnana, knowledge of the self, because Arjuna is qualified to receive, because he is such a gentle, soft-hearted person who is willing to listen to Krishna. So we will stop here. Any comments, question at this time?